Well, it's nice to be back in the friendly confines of Studio A, the GOAT studio. Shout out to Diana Taurasi. And we are the AZ Wildcats Podcast, back from our Tucson adventure. Damon and I are going to break our trip to Tucson down, Becky Burke's busy week, and a lot more on the AZ Wildcats Podcast in 30 seconds. Don't you go anywhere.
Welcome on into the AZ Wildcats Podcast. I am Damon Farrell. He is Kevin Thomas, and we are in PHNX HQ2 on a fine Monday morning, Kevin. It's a weird Monday because it's like the start of the work week, but for me, it's also like a Friday. It's kind of doubling up. Your boy will not be here the rest of the week, but Kevin's going to hold things down. Going to have some guests on, probably talk to Justin Spears, probably, definitely have Erica Day on at some point, but it's going to be an absolutely another electric week here on the AZ Wildcats Podcast. Kevin, I feel like we just keep getting better and better and better and better, brother. Of course, shout out everybody who supported any of our work while we were down in Tucson. We had a great time at the Spring Showcase. Shout out Arizona football for allowing us to do that and be a part of that, Kevin. And overall, just how are you feeling after such a great weekend?
I feel awesome. I feel incredible. It was a pleasure to be out there. I said that for my Twitter after we left the stadium, Damon. But yeah, it was a great time. It was great to be around more Arizona Wildcat fans in Arizona Stadium once again.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I don't know what happened to you there, Damon, but I'm gonna have to fix your little situation. You've been moved. We've been hacked, Damon Dog. But yeah.
What buttons are you pressing?
I'm not pressing
brother?
No buttons over here. It's a ghost button that's been pressed over there. Maybe we can get some assistance from Shane here in a second, possibly. But like I was saying, it was a great time at the Spring Showcase, Damon, and I cannot wait to speak to our guy. You're back. I cannot wait to speak to our guy Cohen about it because he's been breaking it down. What is going on with your camera here, Damon Dog? Let me see if Shane could potentially come out and
why don't you go make a solo shot on yourself and hold the fort down.
Yeah,
let
me get us set up here for a little solo Kevin time here. Because Damon is glitching out all over the place, folks. But yeah, Damon, real quick while I get this set up, I wanted to mention that, like I was saying, it was a great time. It was an honor to be out there and to talk to some of the most influential folks in Arizona basketball, or football, I should be saying here. As I'm gonna let Damon go ahead and fix that situation as soon as possible. But like I was saying, folks. It was a great time. It was a great time to be out there. Talk to Brent Brennan, talk to DC, OC, QB1, even got some nice wide receiver talk with Chris Hunter in there as well. So it was a pleasure. And also I want to say it was very nice to meet some of the, supporters of this great podcast because as you all know, Damon and I started this out in December, not very, sure of where it was going to go, sure of the support we would get on this podcast. And it has been, it was very, very, I'll just say reassuring to see so many great fans out there, so many great fans that support what Damon and I do. And like I was saying, could not have had a better time with all of you out there at Arizona Stadium. And it was simply wonderful, simply something I will not forget anytime soon. I can't wait to talk to our guy Cohen Kinney like we're going to do here momentarily once we get everything back set up and in the right mode there. Like I said, our apologies for that. Sometimes technology doesn't go exactly the way that you want it to go. And I know our guy Damon knows that very well. But yeah, like he was alluding to, Damon's about to I'm saying that because I know you got a lot of experience with this technology stuff, Damon. So I know you know better than anybody else that sometimes, no matter what you do, technology is not your friend. But yeah, like I was saying, like Dan was alluding to, he is going on a vacation, Mr. Vacations, as we like to call our guy Max around these parts from time to time. He's going to Hawaii, folks. This man's going to be on a beach somewhere with a Mai Tai in his hand, while I'm talking to Justin Spears about Arizona football. And if that doesn't tell you something about this dynamic duo, it should. As our guy Damon is returned. He's returned.
What's
Welcome
up,
back,
people.
Welcome back.
Welcome into the AZ Wildcats Podcast. I'm Damon Farrell. He is Kevin Thomas, and we are ready to rip some Arizona football talk on a fine Monday morning. Kevin,
we didn't talk to
down
Justin Flo, by the way, Erica. That's who we didn't talk to.
No, we didn't talk to Justin Flo. Erica got some good video of Justin Flo, though, and I don't know if Erica saw this, but there was a moment where Justin Flo was on the sideline, and someone I think prompted him to give a scream, and he just got in their face and just yelled directly in their face.
Can someone direct me in the direction of that video?
There's no video of it. I saw it with my own eyes.
Oh, wow.
Another thing I saw with my own eyes, Koa Peat's brother.
Yeah, and Koa Peat.
Real true, but I mean, this is
friend of the program, actually.
Friend of the program, Koa Peat. We're going to try to get Koa on at some point. He said that he would be down, and he said he watched our Sam Dwayne Jr. interview, his former coach, of course. So yeah, friend of the program, Koa Peat. But I did see Koa's brother, who was an offensive lineman at ASU as of last season, on campus at the Spring Showcase with a U of A polo on. Seems like he switched up that allegiance pretty quick, Kevin. So.
I did not know about the polo. I will say that I did not know about the polo.
He had a white U of A polo, and also Koa told us that he was there with his brother on the visit. So pretty cool. I would expect him to be, part of this football program pretty soon, shortly here. But yes, of course, we're going to bring our guy Cohen on. We're going to talk about some takeaways from spring football. Just Cohen out there every single day of the week. So he's out there as locked in as absolutely anybody when it comes to the Arizona football beat. And he's just been providing great sorts of coverage all, spring long, Kevin, and we're happy to have Cohen part of this program. But anything real quick before we bring him in here? Anything on the weekend? Anything you wanted to bring up, talk about?
Yeah, I want a couple real quick things. First, like you alluded to earlier before, we got hacked. Shout out to Arizona football. Shout out to Arizona athletics. That was a hell of an event. That was an important event, I think, in terms of turning the tide in terms of the way people feel about fan engagement at Arizona. I think, it was important to ask the coaches and players how they felt about the game. And a lot of them reiterated the same thing, that things like this have to keep happening. You have to keep having events that bring the community closer to the teams that they support so that they want to support them through the ups and the downs, more importantly, right? Because this is a downtime in the history of Arizona football in terms of results and kind of fan morale. And it seems like events like this can really help turn that tide in a more positive direction. So that was the first thing I wanted to say. That was an overall great event. We saw a floating reflective duck. That was pretty cool. But
we did indeed.
Also, Damon, I wanted to, apologize to you because apparently there was a little bit of miscommunication over the weekend in terms of a certain hat from a certain wonderful branded Bills company.
This is true.
That I was allegedly supposed to get you, that I did not know until this morning when you asked me where your hat was, that I was supposed to get you a hat. Would you like to bring this to the people and explain how I let you down?
Yes. I'd like to first start off by saying, Kevin, professional move there in terms of getting out ahead of it yourself. So instead of letting, the man that loves to stoke, the flames a little bit and pour a gasoline canister on it, bring it up organically. That was a smart move. That was a pro move. That's a guy who's been around Damon Dog for a minute here, but I will say I asked my guy Kevin to pick me up that Duel in the Desert branded Bills hat that we've been talking about on this fine program for so long, Kevin, and I have a text to prove it, and it says hey, would you mind grabbing me that one in the middle? And Kevin just didn't even just chugged along, just moved along right past it. All good. And you know what? I'll remember it. I'll remember it, Kevin.
So what had happened was when I went to the branded Bills stand, the exclusive one that you can only find at the U of A bookstore, at least that's my understanding of it based on the conversations we've had with the branded Bills folks.
Well, definitely. I mean, I've checked online for it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, based on the information we have, you can't find these anywhere else. And so I sent the photos to Damon almost to let him know, because our plan going in was for us, you and I, to meet up there and then walk over to the football stadium. That was my understanding of it.
This was true.
And then
I blew that.
The plan shifted. So I sent you the photos as if to be like, yo, the hats that you want are still here. You can go you can go get a hat, the one that you wanted, because I wasn't planning on buying any hats that day, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I went there to make my post for Branded Bills because I wanted to rep Branded Bills that day because it's a very special stand. And I sent that photo to you.
Special company.
I sent that photo to you. And then after I sent the photo is when I saw your next text, which was pretty much like, oh, fire collection, right? So I'm thinking, oh, Damon's looking through the photos. I missed your text asking for a hat, or else I would have got you one of the damn hats because they're so fire.
I feel like it's easy to say you would have gotten me one of the hats when you didn't get me one of the hats. You know what I mean? Like how am I going to disprove said statement other than the fact that you in fact did not get me one? You know what I mean? So that's fine. There's a little bit of a beef that started over this, and we'll see if it's a big enough rift to, tear down this podcast.
It's safe to say Damon will literally never forget. Damon will literally never forget.
No,
he's not a very forgetful guy. He's not the type to ever, let a right or a wrong go to waste. And so, yeah, I hear you, Damon. I get you.
Kevin is over party. We're starting that in the chat. Wow. Wow. I mean, it's guys, I feel like
these
Kevin,
are the hats, by the way.
He gives off this facade of just being such a nice guy all the time. Oh, I'm Kevin. I'm such a sweetheart. At his core, he's like, oh, geez, I didn't see that text, brother. And he wants to see the world burn a little bit. It's crazy.
I will say if my goal was to not spend any money and to not buy anything that day, I would not have gone to the campus store because I did not leave empty-handed. I will say that.
I bet you didn't.
So I was not worried about the money, Damon. I would have paid for the hat, and you would have got me back for it or whatnot. I would have got any of these hats. Look at these.
Bought me a hat out of the kindness of your own heart.
Look at these.
Let's take a peek at these. These are so crazy. They don't have these on the website. Kevin, so the one that I wanted was that middle one on the bottom right picture. It has a Territorial Cup on it. It says Territorial Cup Duel in the Desert. It has Wilbur on it. Absolutely beautiful hat.
Yes.
There's a baseball one on that bottom right section, Kevin, that has the state outline with the seams in the background, that baseball logo that's so sweet. There's a really sick softball one. I mean, these hats are unbelievable.
Yeah, no, they're truly unbelievable. It's one of those things, Damon, where when you look at the baseball hats and the softball hats, when I went to this same stand the first time, I had no idea, they weren't there. So these are fresh new designs.
Yeah, those baseball ones at the top there on the top right are sweet. I didn't even get a look at those earlier. I had to get up out of my chair and get my bad eyes a quick peek at those.
Lion eyes. Yeah, no. Shout out to Branded Bills. Shout out to the Arizona campus store. That is a beautiful, beautiful place to be.
Certainly is. I think it's time to bring on our guy Cohen. He has been waiting patiently.
Very patient, Cohen.
To make his podcast debut. I think we got that out of the way for him. Hopefully, we could clear the nerves a little bit. Cohen gets a quick talk, and then now it's time to rip some content, Cohen. So how are we feeling today on a Monday morning, brother?
I'm feeling phenomenal. Just glad to be on here, and let's get to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, you were out there at every practice. You were, very attentive and very, just kind of, I feel like, trying to, give the best indication of what was going on, observations on the field for this fan base going into year two. Lots of question marks on this roster, right? But one of the guys who we are very familiar with is Noah Fifita, and, it's the most important position on a football field. This is going to be his third year as a starter. So just kind of what was your thoughts on his overall spring camp?
Yeah, so I think with Noah, he was the biggest inclination as far as what the transition would look like from last year to this year, to see just kind of how he takes it on and would go with it. And I would say so far going through the spring, he has definitely taken a command of the team. It seems like the coach has definitely challenged him to become more of a vocal presence in the locker room, to guide the team when times are tough, when times are high as well. And I think he's definitely taken that challenge head on, and he's done a pretty good job with it. And as far as just his playing, I think this offense around Seth Doege, I mean, talk about unwatchable last year's product. I think this year it's going to be just really exciting. Like, you can actually watch and enjoy some football. And I think Noah's going to take that, and I think he's going to excel.
Yeah, certainly. And I feel like, obviously with it being the most important position on the field, most important position maybe in all of sports, a lot of the weight of the wins and losses falls on not only your head coach but also your quarterback. And I feel like you look at Noah's stats from last season, and yeah, they're not the absolute best, but I also feel that people are somewhat kind of snowballing in their heads how bad of a season he had, and bad isn't really necessarily the right term. I think that he was pretty mediocre, but for him, he'd be the first to tell you that it wasn't good enough, right? But obviously, just sticking on that offensive side of the football, you bring in a new offensive coordinator, you have, a new stable of running backs, essentially. They're going to, get the bulk share of the carries. So I guess, what did you see from, we'll stick with Seth Doege at first. What do you think that this new offensive style is going to bring to the table, and how will it differ from last year's?
Yeah, so Seth Doege, I think he has the label. He takes the air raid label, definitely. But you saw with the production from last year at Marshall when he was the offensive coordinator there, it was a much more balanced attack. The rushing yards, the passing yards, they were very aligned with each other. I think that is more so akin to the talent that they had at Marshall. As far as what it's going to look like in Arizona, it looks like he definitely wants to air the ball out, but he's going to mix in the runs as well. And I think Arizona definitely had a more talented running back room last year, at least at this point, with Ja'Cory, with Quali. But there's definitely some guys in that room that can push and are talented as well. Like Ishmael Mahdi from Texas State, he's a guy that he's been a little quiet during the spring, but you definitely know he's got the talent, and when he gets the ball, he's gonna be pretty good. But the receivers, I definitely think, are going to be a focal point. Doege has said he thinks there's multiple players on this offense that can go over 1,000 yards, and that's pretty high praise. And I think there's a better core of receivers as a collective this year than the last year.
Yeah, and when we spoke with Doege, and I'll go into that running back conversation a little bit, I thought it was very interesting that he said that, Ishmael Mahdi is kind of one of the guys that didn't stick out anyway to him, not like in a disrespectful way, but he did start slow, and he was kind of surprised by the slow start. Like, I think he said on our show, where was the guy that did this? Where was the guy that did that was able to accomplish some of these things in the Sun Belt? And to hear that he's kind of coming on slow in the spring, I feel like is somewhat, it's not encouraging from an Ishmael Mahdi standpoint, but I think it's encouraging that Doege still has faith in his running back room without maybe the star of the transfer class of the running backs doing what he is capable of doing. So I think it's actually going to be better for the running backs development as a whole, as a room, to get that shine in the spring when Mahdi is not at his best or trying to find his role in the offense. Yeah. I wanted to ask you, what about the receivers are you seeing that you think that Doege think, like, I know, because Doege is the offensive coordinator. He's going to have faith in his guys. Of course, if there's talent there, he's going to say all these guys can go get 1,000 yards if we get them in the right system or get them in the right position on the field. What do you see when you watch the receivers? Like, are you believing the same things that he's trying to blow smoke about?
I think you definitely see the potential with the receiver room. Lots of teams have adopted the running back by committee, where you have multiple guys that you think can contribute in many ways. And I think this team has a receiver by committee, which is weird to say because typically you have, your stud number one guy. You might have a decent number two that's consistent as well. This team has, probably 5 to 6 guys that can alternate and make impacts throughout the game. Like Luke Weishong is becoming underrated throughout spring camp because traditionally when the starting offense rolls out, he's not with them, but he'll alternate throughout and has started with them as well. But he's a guy that's kind of flown under the radar, and he was one of the biggest offseason acquisitions. So I think that just goes to show how talented the group is as a whole. I didn't even talk about Trey Spivey, the 6'4" receiver from Kansas State that came over. His size is unreal. Like, you can see him boxing out defenders, and he's going to play that same role that T-Mac did last year, that X position. And I think he's going to be able to command and come down to those contested catches. Chris Hudson as well is another guy who you guys saw at the spring showcase. He was just looking dominant. There was a ball I remember Fifita threw the back corner of the end zone. It was a vertical route. Hudson was very contested with the defensive back at the point of the catch. Like, it was very grabby, but Fifita put enough air on it for Hudson to go grab it, and he caught a touchdown. So I think the receivers still got a long way to go. I think all the coaches would tell you that, and the players themselves. But as of right now, the potential is definitely there.
Yeah, it certainly feels like one of the deeper rooms, and kind of sticking on that pass catcher side of things. I saw one thing that I noticed in your depth chart tweet that you tweeted out last week, Cohen, and you can find good tweets like that at Cohen Kinney on Twitter. We'll shout it out at the end of the show as well. But you put Tyler Powell as the starting tight end, for new tight ends coach Josh Miller. Tyler Powell, Arizona kid, went to Brophy. Tons of size, like a huge dude, right? He's like, what is he, like 6'6", 6'7", right? And
6'7",
he was a decent, 3-star recruit out of high school, kind of in that mid 3-star range. And I think a lot of people had, some decent expectations for him, but it's been till now that he's burst onto the scene. I believe he's a junior at this point. So what did you see from Tyler Powell in camp, and just kind of talk to that tight end room in general? Sam Olsen's still there. I heard that, he was getting a decent amount of playing time as well. So just kind of what was the overall, tight end room looking like throughout spring practices?
Yeah, 100%. So Danny Gonzales actually told Doege this because he was with the team last year, that Tyler Powell is one of the most improved players on the offense, but also on the team from last year to this year. And I think you can see that he's always had the frame, 6'7". That's a leap for a tight end. And so he's always had the frame, and he just had to kind of put the muscle on to put the weight and grow into that frame he has. But this offseason, he looks bigger than he ever has. He's faster than he ever has. And I think he's finally putting that athleticism to good use. And so Tyler Powell's a guy that, if you can get him the ball and he has open space, his speed's going to surprise you. And I think he could definitely produce in this offense that's going to get pass catchers involved. Sam Olsen's a guy who he played a lot last year because of some injuries, and he had some ups and downs, definitely. He had a couple pretty good touchdown catches, though, so he had some kind of production coming last year to this year. He's another guy that just looks faster. He looks more acclimated to what Seth Doege's doing as well. And the tight ends, I think, are going to be definitely more involved, but it's tough to say because Arizona tight ends don't always produce. So.
No, it's certainly a weird position in that regard for Arizona. Like, it feels like we either have a guy who's an absolute stud, or you have it's kind of a room that's not giving you a whole lot of production. You look back at Gronk, even Tanner McLaughlin was an unbelievable tight end for this program, and really underrated player, I think, all things considered. Like, you take a guy like that for granted, but he was money every time that he got targeted with the football, and hopefully Arizona can kind of find that safety valve again. And Tyler Powell, I think, would be an encouraging guy for it to happen for, because, he is kind of a developmental piece that this program has had for so long. And he does have the size and frame that you would expect for a high level tight end to have. So high expectations for Tyler Powell. It seems as though a lot of people's maybe they're the team that they're, or the position group that they are most concerned about, Cohen, is the offensive line, right? And you've heard some stuff about the D-line looking pretty good at times during camp, but that's one of those conundrums, right? And it's similar to the chicken or the egg conundrum that Coach Brennan brought up on our podcast. But is the D-line good, or is the offensive line bad, right? And that's the thing that you have to balance. So I guess, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Like, do you think it was more of the O-line is kind of a little chaotic right now and they got to figure some things out? Or do you think that this defensive line could be better than maybe people expected?
Man, it's a really tough question, because while I think it could be one or the other, I have a strong conviction for some reason that it could be a little bit of both. I think the defensive line has got after it, and it's like, are there questions about the offensive line? Maybe, who knows? There are times where the offensive line have held up pretty well, and they've given Noah plenty of time to find some receivers downfield. And so I think this kind of goes along with the competitiveness that Doege and Gonzales have with each other, that there hasn't been practices where it feels like the one side has completely dominated the other. It feels like maybe in a series, Gonzales gets the best of Doege, but Doege comes back and he has a long pass that opens things up and gets some energy going. So I think it's a little bit of both, honestly, in that sense, where you have some guys in the defensive line like Deshaun McKnight, transferred from UT Martin, I believe. He's come in and just blown all the expectations out of the water. He's getting in the backfield. He's knocking passes down. It's really crazy to watch, honestly, because this is a guy who came in from a small school. You didn't know what really to expect, but he's been pretty well. He's been looking good in practice. But the offensive line too, I think Coach Brennan said his philosophy with the offensive line is that it's always kind of revolving. You're always trying to find the best five guys that you have, and he said that the starting five is not going to be kind of set in place until we get closer to game day. So I think there is some chaotic things going on in the offensive line as well. They're still trying to pick these new transfer pieces that they have coming in as well. And, Rhino, who got injured last year, you would think would be a shoe-in to start whenever he comes back as well. So I think just a couple moving pieces here. And one thing you have to consider too is during the spring, they're not really playing football. Coach Brennan said they're kind of just running plays at each other, trying to see what the team's going to basically look like. And so I think by the fall time, we're definitely going to have a bit more of an understanding.
Do you feel like that, competition, because that's what really interested me when they were going back and forth about, the relationship between the way they call plays against each other, is how neither one of them is getting the better of either one. Very often it's usually back and forth. Do you think that is preparing the team better for the big, like the conference play coming up, as opposed to one side dominating the other side, and maybe Noah Fifita just torching corners out there? I feel like that kind of gives me encouragement that this team is going to have some feel for different looks on both sides of the ball. Are you getting the same impression, or do these two coaches just have a really good feel for one another?
No, absolutely. I think the back and forth is going to be healthy for the team long term. I think it's going to be able to get them ready for some of the more unorthodox teams that they'll play, because in the Big 12 you have kind of an assortment of offenses and defenses that like to do different things. And so I think this kind of back and forth is going to be good in that sense. Doege said he's had to alter some things that he's doing in practice from a day-to-day basis because of what Gonzales has been showing him. And so I don't think it's a kind of, I think there's more nuance to it, and I think that's going to be really good for the team, because you didn't see this last year at all. I mean, having both the coordinators kind of having this bromance together, it's really cool to see, and I think it's gonna work wonders for the team long term, because you see how this team is much more of a collective than last year. Like, they're going to play together, and that gets into the complementary football standpoint. Like, if one team is playing well off the other, I think it's going to lead to some pretty good performances.
Yeah, I mean, I think you see the difference in mentality, right, between the coordinators from last year to this year. And that's not to say, I think Duane Akina he's an all-time legendary coach, brings a ton of energy. So I'm not coming after him, but he's an older guy, right? Like, he's one of the older coaches in all of college football, if not, the oldest coordinator in college football at a Power 5 level last season, if I'm not mistaken. So, you're getting younger with Coach G, even though, he's not necessarily he's not exactly Seth Doege age. He has a young energy, a youthful energy about him, right, that he brings on a consistent basis. And then you also have, a guy like, Seth Doege, who is extremely young, one of the youngest coordinators in all of college football, especially at this level. And he has that youthful energy as well. So going from, Duane Akina, who, again, like I said, not taking shots at, and Dino Babers, who I will take shots at and say, wow, what a change of pace that we're going to have from last season to now. I just feel like these coordinators inject such a different lifeblood into this program, and it was well needed, right, after last season with, and I don't want to say this, it felt like there was, apathy, because I felt that when Kevin Sumlin was in charge, that there was an apathy around getting this program to a better spot. I don't feel that Brent Brennan feels that way, but it definitely felt like there was maybe a above their heads type of situation last year. And I feel like these new guys that you bring in place, they're so intense, they're so prepared. It feels like that is going to be the biggest difference from last season to now, is just this idea that you're injecting a ton of energy into this program with your new coordinators.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just it's night and day. You can't get more night and day than this. And it should be, I mean, last year is really the bottom of the barrel. So you got to think that anything slightly above it's going to be a better product for the football program. But there's lots of belief, and I think the fan base should start to get some belief as well, because it genuinely looks different. It looks like these coordinators just know what they're doing, and have an actual plan. And I think that was one of the things too when Brennan decided that he was going to do changes to all three coordinators, is that that's a lot for the players to kind of digest and to acclimate to, because you're putting new scheme on them, you're putting new plays in their face, especially with this up-tempo offense that's completely different from last year. But the players have taken the challenge, and it looks great so far in spring.
And when you were talking about how different this could be from last season, at least from a fan's perspective, I remember a lot of the frustration being like, what is the goal with some of these play calls? Like what is the end goal of this scripted, set of plays you want to run here? I think maybe the best part about Seth Doege is his intensity. I think really helps him communicate his ideas, not only to his players, but I think to the fans in general, because he's not doing all this coach speak of, well, we want to go out and execute, and we want to go out, and he's like, no, we're going to put the ball on the goal line, and we're going to go 100 yards, and we're going to put the ball on the other goal line and score, and this is how we're going to do it. We're going to get Noah out. We're going to blah, 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 blah. He's going to break it down. I think his intensity, like we sat there, 2 feet from him at the table, his eyes, like they're burning lasers into you. And not like
he doesn't blink.
No, not in like a bad way, not in like a weird way, but you can just tell when he's talking to you, like he's focused on you. He's focused on the topic at hand, and he's not miles a minute, heads everywhere. And I think that gives me a lot of confidence for the offense going into next season, right? Because last year, even when you had a guy like Matt Atkins take over the reins from Dino Babers, you had a guy who was inexperienced calling plays. There was some potential with him. Like he's not like he's not totally unqualified to be on the sideline, but maybe to be an offensive coordinator, maybe not yet. I think that with Doege, you have a guy who has an identity, he has a plan, he has an idea of what he wants his product to look like, and it sounds like Coach Danny Gonzales has challenged him on some of that and made him evolve his scheme. So I have a lot of confidence in terms of where this coaching staff is at going forward, even if the product day one isn't perfect, which it won't be, by the way, spoiler alert. I have a lot of faith that the coaching staff will be able to work through the kinks early on this season.
No, absolutely. You can see the vision. You can feel the vision. I think that's just what's going to be able to get fans through the season is, like to your point, there might not be wins out of the gate or what the fans are wanting, because that's a little unrealistic. This is a brand new coaching staff. This is Seth Doege. He is now moving on to the Power 4 level. It is a jump, and it is a transition that he's probably going to have to acclimate to. But I think Arizona's got a real big gem with him, just because I get NFL vibes off of him. I don't know about you guys, but he's just he has that feel. I don't know. I can't describe it, but it just feels like he's going to do some big things for the rest of his career.
Yeah, he feels like a head coach. He feels like a guy who's going to be a staple of college football for a long time. Like, I get that total exact same vibe from him, Cohen. And I think I've talked about this before, but like my first indicator of that is taking an in-home with, the number 1 quarterback in the country 2 days after getting the job at Arizona. And this is a kid that is a 5-star out of LA. Like, you're not going to land that guy at Arizona. And that he didn't have a prior relationship with him being at Marshall, as the offensive coordinator. Like, that's not going to be a guy that you were previously recruiting, but he's still able to get that quarterback in an in-home visit and show up at his house. Like, I just feel like that this guy he has so much juice when it comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Forgive me. He's actually not number 1. He's number 3, number 6 overall player, Rider Lions out of Los Angeles. But I find Seth Doege to be such an encouraging addition to this roster. For me, he's the guy that I have the most faith in terms of, why this season would potentially be better than next season. Like, I feel like it rides a lot on him, but Cohen, we appreciate all of the coverage that you provided all throughout spring ball. You absolutely crushed it, man. Anything else that we didn't touch on that you think was you got to come out and talk about before we get you out of here?
Man, I feel like we touched on some pretty decent things. Just that, this team is hungry to win, is hungry to get out there and make it happen. Not to talk about Doege some more, but I mean, he wants to get on the field and he wants to score touchdowns. He doesn't have any other goal in mind. They touch the grass, they're scoring touchdowns. And so I think that's kind of going to be the mantra this year, is that they're going to be scoring points. Arizona's going to be in games, and they're going to be a lot more competitive than last season.
Certainly. He is Cohen Kinney. You can follow Cohen at Cohen Kinney. That is CoeinKinney. Cohen, we appreciate you so much, man. You absolutely crushed it this spring. Make sure you guys throw Cohen a follow. He is a great, rising journalist in the business, and he absolutely crushed it for us and helping us out with all of our coverage. And we hope to have him a part of this, program moving forward here as he continues, getting his degree and stuff. But thank you so much, Cohen.
I appreciate you guys.
Well, that was Cohen Kinney giving us our spring football takeaways there, Kevin. And, of course, I think we'll debrief that and kind of just talk real quick about, what we're expecting from Arizona next season. Maybe do like a way too early prediction of record.
Yeah.
A little impromptu.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't,
let people bookmark it and call us idiots in
of
8
course,
months.
and then
I love
we can
that.
get the chat involved in that as well.
Love
But
that.
we're going to go ahead and hit that. We're going to hit some, some Big 12 championship talk. We're going to hit some baseball and softball right after the break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. But first, Kevin, let's talk about our friends over at Branded Bills. I got my Branded Bills lid on right now. It's the Phoenix hat, the golf hat with the rope. Kevin, genuinely the most comfortable hat I own. Kevin's pulling out the other Branded Bills hats he's got on him right here. How about those designs? How about that state design? Absolutely fire. Gave my dad that hat, that exact hat, for Easter yesterday, Kevin, and he absolutely loved it. So got my parents some Branded Bills hats. I got the Branded Bills hats. Kevin's putting on 3 Branded Bills hats. He might just walk around town like that. He might hit the club like that. Who knows? That's a fashion piece. That's a fashion statement right there. And Branded Bills is the best way to get that job done. Whether it's snapback trucker fitted beanies or even t-shirts, Branded Bills has you covered with the best, quality and, comfortability that you will find anywhere in the market. They're a local company. They love supporting us. We already gave our Branded Bills shout outs for the campus collection they have at the bookstore. Go check that thing out. And of course, head to brandedbills.com and use promo code PHNX for 20% off your first order.
Man, those hats are very comfortable, and if you don't got a home, you're gonna need to get one so you can have a place to store your hats. You know what I'm saying? Going forward.
Yes, buy a house so you can store your Branded Bills hats.
Have your
It's a good point,
priorities
Kevin.
in order with our friends over at Carol Royce team. I wanted to let y'all know that, like I keep saying all the time, we recently met with Carol Royce and her team. Kind of a family organization here, like a real family vibe. They really make sure that everyone's best interests are sought out, and that does not stop with their employees. It extends to their customers as well. So if you are looking to sell your home, buy a new home, buy your next home, buy your dream home, Carol Royce is the place to be for that. They will guarantee to sell your home for 100% of market value, or Carol will pay you the difference. That is extremely important with all these different places you can go to do your realty. They don't really give you written guarantees. It's kind of an if, ands, or buts. Mm-hmm. Carol will give you written guarantees, setting them apart from the rest. Considering a cash offer, don't settle for one. Get up to 6 of the best offers with at least one at 100% of market value, or Carol will pay the difference. Call Carol today at 480-776-5231 or visit Carol online at carolroyceteam.com and tell them me and Damon sent you. That's carolroyceteam.com. Terms and conditions apply. Go get a home, people. Need somewhere to live these days.
Luke shouting out our guy Cohen, saying Cohen's a great speaker.
He really is.
He is, man. He's really, really good for, not having a ton of experience. He said his podcast debut was, when we brought him on Saturday real quick. And that was like his first like real podcast hit. And he was fantastic, man. Cohen has a bright, bright future in this. And we're excited, to have him a part of our squad here at PHNX Sports. But Kevin, after kind of being out there at spring football, doing a lot of interviews with assistants and whatnot, talking to the head ball coach, talking to, a Fifita, what were your, what do you come away? What's the, number one? I know we talk a lot about Seth Doege, so maybe number one thing that isn't Seth Doege, that, you're coming away from Arizona football, being maybe encouraged by or even concerned by, after this, spring month of spring ball here?
Well, honestly, I do want to back it up just a little bit because I don't think Seth Doege would have been my number one takeaway from spring ball specifically anyway.
Okay.
Mostly because we kind of already had our Seth Doege honeymoon as a fan base, right? Like once he came on and started speaking. No, but listen, like once he came on.
The honeymoon phase is not over with your boy here.
I get that, but I'm saying in terms of the question that was tasked me, I think like I already felt that way about Seth Doege. Like, oh, he might be the one to turn things around for us, right? I felt that way going into spring ball. So I think coming out of spring ball, that's not one of my biggest takeaways. Is my main point because that's going to just stay as long as the honeymoon phase does last. But specifically coming out of spring ball, I think the team's connectedness and the team's focused on being competitive, not only with opponents but with each other. And the overall vibe surrounding the people that you talk to when you speak to players, coaches, people around the team, there's a completely different vibe to the interactions you have compared to last year. Now, I know you and I weren't doing this podcast last season and didn't have the opportunity to, speak with Brent Brennan and the coordinators and things like that. But I think we all know from watching the press conferences and from watching the interviews that were out last year, the positivity is increased double, triple, quadruple fold. I think that is a real big indicator for how confident this team is because the team knows that they're not going to go likely contend for a national title, right? But I think the confidence that they can achieve their goal of competing in the Big 12, whether that's realistic or not, I think gives me as a fan encouragement that they're going to look a lot better than they did last year from a product standpoint. So I think the overall my biggest takeaway is the team's mentality, the team's like willingness to fight like a dog out there if they need to, and they seem like they're biting at the bit to do it. Michael says MGM has the Cats at 5.5 for 2025. I think a bowl game is doable. That's kind of where I'm at, right? Like I think that I have a lot of confidence based on the team's mentality coming out of spring ball that a bowl game really is doable if things break their way this year. Damon, what was your biggest takeaway from spring ball? Obviously not Seth Doege.
I really like that your takeaway there, and I just expanding on that. I think that everybody is on the same page. It feels like they're very connected in terms of they all are buying into this message. And your mom made a funny comment actually when we were doing our interviews where she said that football coaches are like good cult leaders, and she said that she actually put that in the comments while
she loves a good like YouTube rabbit hole deep dive on like a cult leader of like, oh my God, how are they able to convince all these people? Like,
well, it's funny because she said that while Coach G and Seth Doege were on the show, and the screen is like a foot away from them in that direction, and I was like, oh my God,
they know it though.
Yeah, but
Biggie knows he could lead a cult. He knows
it's true in the fact that it feels like the things that they're saying are being relayed by this team in full, and that everybody is and not to get corny on you, Kevin, you'll probably love this, but like everybody is really 10 toes down on what the message is for next season and what the goal is, right? And it's proving people wrong and flipping the script on what happened from last season. And I feel like that the approach that I guess this would probably be my number one takeaway is just the willingness and honesty to outright be like, yeah, we screwed up last season.
Wearing it.
Yeah. Like last season was not good enough, and it was embarrassing, and we understand why this fan base is pissed off and why they're embarrassed about it, right? And it's like, so I feel like that's my biggest takeaway is just that they're so willing to be like, we got to flip the script from last season, we got to turn it around, right? We got to make a U-turn because what we did last year didn't work, and so I think that's my biggest thing is just like, yeah, this team they seem so open and willing to be like this. We screwed up last season. We're gonna fix it. We're gonna do everything we can to fix it. And I really do believe that they're trying in that regard. But I think without further ado, Kevin, and if you're in here in this chat, like this video, please drop a like on this video. How many people we got in here, Kevin? 52?
Yeah.
52. We should have 52 likes on this video. Drop a like.
A baker's half hundred.
Yes, of course, that's what they call it famously. Kevin,
yes.
After spring ball, knowing what we know about this team, knowing that this receiving core is, a strength, that it's so deep, knowing that this offensive line, might struggle a little bit, especially early in the season as they get acclimated, knowing that Ishmael Mahdi wasn't, maybe as loud in the spring as you would expect, knowing that Noah Fifita is back.
It's a long checklist going down.
No, I know. I'm running through the position groups, right?
Yeah, no, I'm with it. Go for it.
The D line might be better than the expectation level. There's a lot of experience in that cornerback room and that DB room. What do you think Arizona's record for next season will be? Obviously, we talk about, the over under there. We got 5.5. So what's, I guess, just kind of like if I had to put you on the spot today, way too early prediction, what's Arizona's record next season?
Man, it's a tough one. Realistically, I'll say it like this. They were able to get 4 wins last year, playing some of the grossest, ugliest football I've ever seen in my entire 24 years on Earth.
Yep.
And they also were missing Ja'Cory Crosskey-Merritt, a.k.a. Bill, all season. So, and you and I have spoken a lot on this program about how just having that one player might have actually gotten them into a bowl game last year. If you go do some,
if you really look into it.
Yeah, some comparisons and some hypotheticals and things like that. I feel like 7-5. Actually, like I know Luke just says here in the chat, I think 7-5 is a real possibility. There's no clear juggernaut in the Big 12. I think it could be anyone's conference. I feel like it's crazy saying they're going to be 2 games above 500, right? Like, but 7-5, Damon. You were able to get 4-8 out of last year's team, which I know you had T-Mac on that last year's team, and you had Big Jonah, and you had Tyler Loop, and you had some more guys that you're just not going to have on this year's team. But I think the depth on this roster is a lot healthier from that standpoint than last year's. So yeah, I think 7-5 is what I'll go with. I'll be optimistic and say 7-5. My gut probably is saying 6-6, but I'm talking about 1 win here, so I'll be optimistic and say 7-5.
Yeah, I don't mind that prediction. I do hear all of your analysis. Make sure you guys drop your predictions here in the chat. Would love to read some of those guys off. Obviously, Luke here said 7-5. He thinks is a real possibility. Let's get the rest of you guys in the chat involved in this conversation. What is your guess? But I guess just running through it in my head, last year was such a culmination of horrific errors, Kevin. From an injury standpoint, this defense was fairly, had some good players in the fold, and they just got way too injured last season. You had Gunnar Maldonado, Traden Stukes, Dalton Johnson had to go play linebacker because Jacob Manu was hurt. You had so many, Tack Davis had a bad season for what, his expectation was. Like, it wasn't, what you needed from the defense. And in large part, I feel like that was due to a lot of injuries that happened, which drastically hurt this team, right? Because even if the offense was struggling, I feel like the defensive intensity, effort, and coaching was somewhat there to a standpoint where you could have had an average defense out there if people didn't get hurt. And that really hurt this team. Also, JCM not being there was so big for this season. I think that the combination of those things probably cost you a bowl game last year. Obviously, there was a lot of talent on last year's roster that can't be replaced, Kevin. You have multiple NFL guys. Jonah seems to be even trending up a little bit in draft circles. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if he was one of the last picks of the first round. At this point, I do think he's more likely a mid to early second round pick. But you lost a lot of great players, but you got your quarterback back, and you expect to be healthier and deeper at a lot of positions. I really do think that 5.5 number is the right line. I kind of am sitting at 5 to 6 wins here. I think I'll be with you guys, Kevin, in terms of optimism. So I'll go to 6-6, but I think that's what this team can do is 6 wins. And, I think that would be a good season for them, all things considered. I don't think that's a too crazy of an expectation. I'm looking at various sports books right now, Kevin, and they all have Arizona set at 5.5. And, they're either plus 100 or plus 110. So it's about even odds either way. I think that's about right for this team. Some of the other teams in conference that are also at that number, Kevin, are Oklahoma State at 5.5, at a little bit more plus money, plus 150 on that one. You got Houston at like minus 170, minus 160 at 5.5. I know they have a 5-star quarterback coming in next season. West Virginia 5.5 also, but a little bit like more like plus 130. So there's a lot of teams in this Big 12. And I think that's another aspect of this thing, right? Is that this conference is so top to bottom, so similar. who was talking about that with us when we had them on set. It might have been Doege and Gonzales, just about
I think it was
how this conference top to bottom is so similar. Like the ASU won the conference last year and they won like 8 one-possession football games. Like everybody was so close and packed in. So, the difference between winning 4 games and winning 7 games is really not that drastic. I think a lot of these teams are extremely similar caliber. And that leads to, the ceiling and the floor both being in opposite directions, right? Like the variance there is pretty hefty. So I'm going to go 6-6. Kevin's going 7-5. Make sure you drop in the chat what you guys think the record will be. Michael says he wishes that line was 4.5. Agree with you there, brother. I think that would have been great. Also says he thinks it's going to be under that 6-6. Luke says 6-6. Luke says that he thinks we'll be a little bit above 500. So
if the Diamondbacks lead the MLB in Corbin's and Slade's, we lead college podcasts in Luke's right
absolutely.
Now. I'm with that,
and that's a badge of honor that we'll wear, Kevin, on our sleeve. But we got to go to break here. I do want to look up real quick. I just want to look up this Arizona football schedule, just to kind of see what the vibes of next season will be like. What games you have to take care of if you want to hit that number, right? So you play Hawaii at home. You have to win that football game if you want to make a bowl, I think. Then you play Weber State. That is, undeniable. You got to be 2-0 to start off the season. Then you play Kansas State at home. I don't expect that to be a win. And then Iowa State on the road. Same thing there. Then you play Oklahoma State. That's one of those ones where that's a team that's similar caliber to you, Kevin. That's a team that, as I said, their over-under is also 5.5 at home. You probably have to win that game. Versus BYU, at Houston, at Colorado. I feel like both Houston and Colorado are wild cards this season in terms of what they're going to do. Versus Kansas, that might be a tough task. They have their quarterback coming back and a solid coach. At Cincinnati, they're supposed to be pretty solid. Versus Baylor, and then at Arizona State. So I honestly, I think it's going to be a tough task, but just the fact that this conference is so, kind of mixed in as a similar group, they're not going to, you get 2 wins out of conference, 4 wins in conference shouldn't be too difficult to ask for, but
I agree.
We'll see.
I agree with you, Damon. And I think, first of all, I want to say this. That was my biggest regret of the whole spring showcase, is that I didn't get one of the little posters with the schedule on it so I could bring it back. And maybe I could have put it on the other side right here. Who knows? It's still, they still make them. So I'll probably get one before it's over and all said and done. But anyway, no, back to what we were talking about with the schedule. I do think that Arizona has a pretty fortunate role when you look at the schedule that they've been given this season, considering the place the program is at. This does look like a schedule that a program looking to turn things around could possibly take advantage of if things break their way, and maybe they do end up, like Dennis Headley says here in the chat, 6-6, or potentially, as Erica L. Day says in the chat, 7-5. And yeah, you're definitely going to need some things to fall your way, because like we were talking about, there's a lot of question marks, right? There's a lot of encouraging things, but most of those encouraging things end in question marks because you have yet to see it on the field. So yeah, it's an interesting schedule. Might be a favorable schedule for Arizona, and we'll see how they handle it as well, Dan, before we go to this next break.
Yeah, certainly. And I like what Michael puts here in the chat. That Kansas State game is going to be the real, barometer for what this team is going to be next season, much like it was last season. We had high expectations. I think the NAU game was really the game where I was like, wow, this is not going the way that I expected this to go. But
looking at it like,
you were also undefeated, so you were like, we can flip the script here if you take care of Kansas State somehow. The season's saved. But this season, I think it's going to be much of the same. Like, hopefully you're undefeated after 2 weeks. You play Kansas State, and if you can at least even keep that thing close and competitive, I think that would be really encouraging for the remainder of the season, because Kansas State is, they're the class of the Big 12. I think at this point, from a football standpoint, they've been really consistent for a long time now. They were even competing with the Texases and the Oklahomas of the world, as of very recently. So yeah, it's going to be a true barometer. I think that's right, Michael. And we're going to talk about some Big 12 champions, Kevin. Ring us. as well as some Diamond Sports updates from the weekend right after the break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast.
Well, Damon, on my, trip to Arizona Stadium, you and I were talking about some possible stadium renovations. And one of those ways that we need to renovate Arizona Stadium is putting Empire flooring all over the concourse or surrounding the football field so that people can really be styling while they're walking around the concourse. Because right now it's just concrete, and it's not the stylish custom Empire flooring that they could have. Just like your favorite team, you need a home court advantage, so you can bring that to your home with Empire Flooring. They have flooring experts, not just people that work in flooring. These are flooring experts dedicated to flooring, who focus on flooring every single day. They've been to all the box stores. Empire Flooring knows what those people do over there. You go through endless aisles, and somehow you end up hauling all this lumber and garbage back to your house in this
100%.
Probably a mini coupe that you just can't fit any of it in. You're looking like a clown car driving down the highway. It's not the experience that you want. You want Empire Flooring because they take all that hassle out of this process for you. And you're asking yourself, why Empire Flooring? Because their flooring experts bring the showroom floor right to your home. Pick the right flooring and the right colors for your space. See how it looks in your house with their visualizer tool. Get precise measurements, all of that. So you can schedule a free in-home estimate today, because there are some things that are just better at home. PHNX listeners can receive a $350 discount. That's $350 off of Empire Flooring using promo code PHNX. Yes, you heard that right. $350, code PHNX. Restrictions apply. Visit Empire today/PHNX for more details.
Certainly do so, Kevin. And as well, you're going to want to make a stop at America's Thirst Stop, and that is our friends at Circle K.
I had to on my road trip.
Of course. Absolutely. I got to find out, do they have Circle K's in Hawaii?
I'll look that up right now.
I will be taking a picture of one and me being inside of one if that is the case, Kevin.
I wonder if they sell like a Spam Masubi at the Circle K in Hawaii. Continue.
On the roller?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Masubi roller?
It would have to be like a little bit of like a rotating thing under a heat lamp, but continue.
That would be so
Tell these people about the Inner Circle Rewards program.
The Inner Circle Rewards program is so easy to sign up for. If you do sign up, you get 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, and that adds up, folks. So make sure you guys do so. Then you save 3 cents off per gallon every day after that. When you plug in your Inner Circle Rewards membership mobile number that you signed up with, until you become a premium member like me, like Kevin, like a lot of the friends here at PHNX Sports, where you will get 5 cents off per gallon on every single fill up. Excuse me. They have another Fuel Day coming up here, Kevin, on April 24th.
Yes.
Where you can get 40 cents off per gallon, and I am dead sad that is not a thing that I can be a part of.
Tragedy
while
is
I
struck.
am on the road. I will be missing out on those savings, but you shouldn't do so if you are here in the great state of Arizona, and really anywhere, Kevin. It seems like your eyes lit up back there. Make sure you guys hit up Circle K and sign up for the Inner Circle Rewards membership.
And make sure if you're in Honolulu, hit up Circle K, because they do have Circle K's in Honolulu.
We are worldwide, brother, including on remote island locations in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Gotta love Circle K. Gotta love the Inner Circle Rewards membership. May 6th is the big Circle K big giveaway where you can enter to win prizes, cash, and more. Visit circlek.com/big giveaway for more details on that, or join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details.
25 cents off a gallon from 2 to 6 today as well.
Wow.
I will be taking advantage of that, because in between this and Diamondbacks podcast later, a little peek behind the curtain, I'll be going home. So I probably will be taking part in this little Circle K gas window there.
Gotcha. Well, let's take a peek at some of these comments here, Kevin, before we get into some more sports talk. We got Eric Duthie in the chat. Great to meet him and his son Landon out there. He says
great.
Noah for Heisman, on his, and he said he loved your shirt earlier as well, Kevin. But Trevor Begay in
Real
here.
quick, sorry. I was mad only momentarily until I realized why this was the case. I went back to the school store, as we've talked about a lot on this pod today. But I went there
Free ads.
Also looking for like some of these NIL like branded stuff, like, for the players. And I'm walking through looking for like, oh, this is going to be like, I'm going to get a new Noah Fifita shirt, maybe a Big Jonah shirt. Because I know they had a couple of those last time. And I realized that they rotate it with the seasons. Obviously, they do that, right? So I had to cop a Mason White shirt. Had to cop like an Arizona Wildcats like vintage style basketball tee. But I was bummed out that I couldn't get like a second Noah Fifita shirt just because they're not in season. You know what I mean? Like, it's a campus. You have tons of people traveling from all over the nation all the time. I just figured that there would be a selection for Noah Fifita because that is the guy that you want when you're going into the school store, right? Wrong?
I'm with you. Hey, man, I'm the guy who's trying to build the statue. You know what I mean? I brought
he
it up.
asked you. You
I brought
asked
it up
him
to
about
our guy yesterday or on Saturday. So, I'm certainly all for, some more shirts repping Noah Fifita. But Jay asks, is that in Phoenix or all of Arizona? I believe that should be in all of Arizona, brother. So,
Yeah, it should be.
I think it's worth a check out. And I know that if you're in Tucson, it's not too hard for you to find a Circle K. There's one on every corner. That's the beauty of Circle K. So maybe just stop in and check it out 2 to 6 today. Shout out Erica for putting that in the chat for everybody. Trevor Begay, I think, put a record prediction up top there, Kevin, if we could find that. Or no, he doesn't, but he says that the Kansas State game is really where he agrees with us that that's the true barometer. Great to meet Trevor as well out there. AZ Catch G says 12-0 in a national championship. Very reasonable, brother.
Or maybe 500. I love that.
Maybe
I did
500. Jay says that Noah's going to have a career year. We would absolutely love that. I think that would be so encouraging for Noah, too, without T-Mac. First year ever really playing without T-Mac in his, more adult life as a football player, or since high school even. So
Jay also asked a good question kind of in that same vein of what's going to hurt the most, losing a stud kicker or losing T-Mac, because you actually do have a deeper group of receivers this year. Like you were alluding to, you do lose that guy that your quarterback has all this experience with and has played with for his whole life. And he's an NFL guy. He's a generational talent on the West Coast.
Yeah.
You lose that guy, but you do supplant that with some very talented receivers coming in. I almost am inclined to answer Jay's question by it's going to hurt most to lose that kicker. You're losing Tyler Loop. I feel like really what here? What?
I'm not going to say losing Tyler Loop is hurts more than losing T-Mac. I'm sorry.
I think in terms of like
it's the best football player I've ever watched.
I'm with
Arizona.
you. No, I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. But I think like you have talent in multiple places in the wide receiver room, and I think that the way Doege runs his offense, you don't like. It's not like T-Mac would have been the only guy getting the ball last season if Doege was the OC. Right. I think T-Mac getting the ball as much as he did last season was just as much about there not being talent behind him in the way that there needed to be, as much as it was about how great T-Mac was. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think that like in terms of actual like impact on like play-by-play stuff, it's T-Mac. Right. But I think the kicker stuff, you don't know until it's done, and you don't know until the kicker misses the big kick and you're like, damn, I haven't had to worry about that in years with Tyler Loop. Right. I think like sometimes you watch teams and they're amazing, but they don't have the special teams because their kicker can't make it outside of 30. You know what I mean?
ASU last season.
Yes. And so I think that what is going to hurt fans the most, probably losing T-Mac, but what could end up costing Arizona the most is losing Tyler Loop, because that is something you've not had to worry about at all in any way.
Here's how I'll frame it for you, Kevin. That's like, and maybe I can get you to be on my side on this. If you told me this team could have T-Mac back with the wild card of a new kicker, or this team was going to have, they'll have decent depth at receiver, maybe even good depth at receiver, but they can have Tyler Loop back, I'm taking the option with T-Mac 10 times out of 10, 100 times out of 100, 1,000 times out of 1,000. Like, I'm not, that's not to say that, and if it's a disaster with, the new kicking situation, it's a disaster, and then I would be wrong, right? But I'm willing to take that chance for the most talented football player that's ever stepped on this campus, potentially, and at least out of high school. And also, like, I know he got spam targets a lot last year on a not good offense, but he had more receptions, more yards, more touchdowns the year before with Jacob Cowing in an offense that had way more mouths to feed, that was way more successuthey
it's also more successful, and this is to add to your point, not to try to take it away, but I think it's also more successful because you had more depth of talent. It was like they had to take eyes off of T-Mac at some point. Last season, all eyes were always on T-Mac all the time. So not only did you have to go to him, but also the defense knew you had to go to him.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
And that's kind of where I was going with it, is that even though there's more talent in this room, he benefits from that being the case, rather than needing Chris Hunter to be the guy that steps up when you didn't really have any expectations for him last season, because everybody else is legitimately bad. Like, I'm not even just not good. Like they were bad. A lot of the receivers last year were actively hurting the team. So Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna pick T-Mac in basically any conversation. You could maybe get me on like a Nick Foles. Like, would you rather have Nick Foles? Like, yeah, I'll take Nick Foles, but I'm taking T-Mac 100%. Ben,
That would be unbelievable.
Imagine T-Mac at the X spot with with Chris Hudson on the other side. You got Luke Wysong in the slot. I mean, it would be unreal.
Got Ben Wysong in the stands.
Yeah,
vibes immaculate.
The whole Wysong crew.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand your point. I think that, hearing some good things about Salgado Medina as well gives me a little bit of confidence. Hopefully he's ready to take those reins. And I know he was pretty highly regarded coming out of high school. So, I think that we have some talent.
And apparently he's doing well as well. He's not like he's not been doing well.
Yeah.
I don't worry about him from a place of, I don't think he's good. I worry about him from a place of we haven't seen him do it in a high leverage moment.
Totally.
Also, can I share with you what made me laugh to myself here for a brief moment?
Yes.
I think you'll find enjoyment in this just because it's me being my peak corny. I was thinking, could you set the whole Wysong crew on like in the sidelines watching the game, supporting Luke and his team? Would you call a group of Wysongs a playlist?
As we move on from football talk and we get ourselves into some Big 12 championship talk, Arizona men's tennis takes home Arizona's second Big 12 championship in about a 5-day stretch here, as women's golf took it home on Thursday and tennis gets it on Sunday, Kevin. So how are you feeling about being ASU fans were coming after Arizona fans being like, they haven't even won a Big 12 championship yet. How's 2 in 4 or 5 days sound?
I mean, just rolling in the rings right now. You know what I mean? That's not a very comfortable thing to roll in, but hey, when you do what you want when you're popping. And Arizona right now is popping. Congratulations to women's golf. Congratulations to men's tennis. Men's tennis has been dominant at times all year.
They've been great, man.
And,
for a couple years.
Yeah. Shout out to Jay Friend as well. And I think that, could not be happier to see Arizona getting some Big 12 championships in the trophy case, because football and basketball on the way soon, hopefully. Probably sooner rather than later for basketball, and probably later rather than sooner for football. But you never know.
Certainly. I mean, I feel that, this conference is such a wild card. I'm not going to say that this team is going to win the Big 12 championship in football next season, but it's just like ASU was projected literally last.
Yes.
So, it just goes to show that, that no one really has a great read on what the Big 12 can do. Eric says, let's move on from that Wysong joke, LOL. Ben liked it though, and I think that's really all that matters.
I think that does. Yeah,
that was the target audience.
Yeah.
That was the target audience, and so you got your laugh, and now you feel like you got the W. But that's 2 W's, Kevin, in 2 different sports there. Of course, men's tennis also took home a Territorial Cup point. Then women's golf, kind of sealed the deal on the Territorial Cup when they won the Big 12 championship over ASU and Oklahoma State and other schools. So. Yeah, Territorial Cup champions, Big 12 champions times 2. Feels good to be a Wildcat, Kevin.
It always does. And I think I was reminded of this when we were back in Tucson and we met some of the supporters of this podcast. And like, it really is just great to be a Wildcat. And it's even better to be a Wildcat when they're winning conference titles, and you can celebrate that in our chat here on YouTube. And if you are, inclined, leave a like. Leave a like for the Big 12 champions. We're repping the Big 12 champions over here. What are you doing? You should be leaving a like on this podcast. But Damon, I think we should move on to some Arizona basketball talk on both the men's and the women's side really quick. I wanted to mention Becky Burke. We didn't really get a chance to talk about this at all Saturday for obvious reasons. But she's starting to get some juice. Like Talia Goodman has been tweeting about how the work that Becky Burke has been doing. Becky Burke herself has been posting up at the Arizona softball game. And not only that, apparently, look at this. She had her first meal in 2 weeks that was not with a recruit, apparently. And she adds a bear down baby at the bottom left there. And then there she is at the softball game saying, found out what all the hype was about with Arizona softball. These ladies are the real deal. Becky Burke is awesome. If the basketball part of this sucks, I honestly don't think that Arizona basketball is going to have the problem getting butts in seats the way that we worried about when Adia Barnes was let go. Mostly because Becky Burke has hit the ground running with community building. She has hit the ground running with hard work, with roster building as well. I think, and we spoke to a guy like Brent Brennan, who I know it's different with women's basketball and Power 4, Power 5 football, right? Like there's different schedules, there's all these different things, but at the core, coaching is coaching, and your responsibilities are what your responsibilities are, and you only have 24 hours in a day. And so I think we've seen with like Brent Brennan how hard it can be to come in late and still be able to do the community building and still be able to do the interaction, the engagement, still be able to recruit. Like that joke about, you might remember this, that joke in college of like, you can choose 2 of the 3, a social life, good grades, and good sleep, right? You can never have all 3, but you can only ever have 2 of the 3 at one time. And I think like off-season coaching, when you get hired late in the process, is kind of like that. You can go get the recruits, but none of the fans will ever see your face, or you can try to do both. And I think Becky Burke is really finding a good balance between doing both, even though she has not had a meal solo since landing in Tucson. But yeah, very, very encouraging to see she has been continuing to do some work, even adding more transfers. She went out and got her big Nora Francois from the University of New Orleans as well. You had Freddie Wallace, another forward. And there are rumors that more players could be joining here. We have a tweet from Javier Morales, friend of the show, that there are certain players that have surfaced the last couple of days of potential transfers to Arizona. UCLA guard London Jones, Cincinnati guard Chloe Mann, who is featured in the photo there on the left, number 0. Texas forward Jordana Codillo. And then Mann and Codillo have visited. Jones reportedly has Arizona as one of her finalists. And yeah, Damon, I'm very encouraged at the current state of Arizona women's basketball. Could not feel any better right now, considering the circumstances that Becky Burke is in, no?
Yeah, so I think at first with Becky Burke, like I was under the impression that we were going to maybe be targeting a lot of mid-major players, just because I didn't feel that, maybe she had the relationships built with a lot of Power 4 players at this point, given, where she was at beforehand. And I don't know, man, it's hard not to be encouraged by all of this movement and all of this traction, because you look at the players that you've brought in so far, and there are mid-major players in there, really good ones at that. But you also brought in Kamryn Kitchen, Kamryn Kitchen, I should say, who is a top.
I always also want to throw the S on the end of it.
Yeah.
It's just so natural.
Well, because there's a football player named Cam Kitchens.
Yeah, no, I'm saying it's like it flows really well because we've been saying that for so long. Continue.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
But yeah, no, 100%. So, she was a high level recruit, Power 5 school member, went to, Freddie Wallace from Kansas, similar situation. Now you're targeting a couple of players from both UCLA and Texas, which are big time women's basketball programs, not just Power 5 schools, but the pinnacle of the sport in terms of competitiveness in modern day. Right. So, as David throws in a chef kitchen, 100%, David, and we're gonna get that cooking, as our guy told us. She's a Steph Curry approved shooter. Got.
What was that, Damon? One more time.
Got.
Love it.
But
John Morant hits a 3. Bang! Oh.
Of course, it seems like that she's targeting a lot of high-level players that were high-level recruits, and that's just so encouraging. It's shades of Jed Fish coming in here and getting, I know he was from UTEP, but getting Jacob Cowing to commit to Arizona over LSU and Oklahoma, and you're like, what in the hell is going on here? We won 0 games last season, or we won 1 game, that year. It was 1 game in 2 seasons, or you get a 5-star in T-Mac to commit over Oregon. So it's like I just feel like there's so much, you say juice, like, and that's one of my favorite terms, but Becky Burke indeed has the juice, and she's building something. And, it's hard not to be encouraged by the status of Arizona women's basketball right now.
Honestly, impossible not to be encouraged. And like I said, like coming from just weeks ago being like, oh, is this about to be the worst era in Arizona women's basketball history? And are we knowingly walking into this all holding hands and crying? But then Becky Burke comes in and says, like, I haven't coached a game yet, can't prove to you that the results are going to be there. But what she has done is given fans every reason to believe in her, at least until that ball gets tipped off in the winter, Damon. So very encouraged, very excited to see how the final roster shakes out for Becky Burke. Excited for hopefully Becky Burke to be able to relax and hit a meal by herself, maybe with her wife or something. I don't know, Damon, but happy. It was really cool to see her at the softball game too. I thought happy to see that community engagement, even though she is clearly a busy Burke.
Yeah, well, and Erica, I mean, you're right. The connecting with the community with the recruiting going on is really special right now. But Erica tweeted a picture of her on Chloe Mann's visit, and Chloe Mann and Becky Burke both flexing in front of the camera, and Becky Burke is ripped, Kevin. Absolutely
Looking it up
ripped.
right now.
Look at those quadriceps. I mean, unbelievable. Right? Am I wrong?
No, you're correct. No, you're correct.
So she's not only doing that, she's finding time to hit the gym too, Kevin.
Yeah, it feels like Becky Burke is one of those coaches where it's like that's not even a question. Like she's waking up and getting some sort of lift or some sort of cardio or some sort of, like, you know what I mean? I feel like morning routine person, maybe not like ice bucket water like you were asking Noah Fifita the other day, but I think Becky Burke strikes me as like I have my mornings routined this way, and then whatever my day is, we figure that out each day. But yeah, Becky Burke ripped.
Does she control time? That's my question. How does she have time for all of this? Does she pause time at certain opportunities?
Do you think Brent Brennan texted her when she got here like, hey, I have the key to being everywhere at once. Once I give you this key, you can be at a softball game, at an in-home visit in California, and in your office scheming for the next season all at once.
Yep. But it's like you said, it's hard not to be encouraged. People are. It seems like this fan base is really taking to Becky Burke, and she's hitting all the right notes right now, Kevin. So keep it up, and Arizona women's basketball continues to trend up. Let's round out talking about some. Or did you have something on men's basketball?
Real quick. Well, we can save it for tomorrow because it's more of a full conversation. But we'll tease it because I did mention it in my show tweet and I did put it in the description. So I don't want to clickbait nobody. My question to you was going to be: is Carter Bryant, well, more specifically, is Tommy Lloyd running out of time with the Carter Bryant decision? He has until April 26th to decide if he's entering the NBA draft. But it's likely we know that he is entering that draft pool, so to speak, so he can go through that process. He has all the way up until May 28th to withdraw from said draft. Does Tommy Lloyd have the time to play around with Carter Bryant, maybe going to the NBA draft? And I ask you that because Carter Bryant has signed that rev share deal with Arizona should he come back for next season, right? And I think when you look at where Arizona was at this past season with the way it spent some of its transfer money, right? I think that if Carter Bryant does go to the NBA draft and does not withdraw by May 28th, but Tommy Lloyd is chasing the idea of Carter Bryant coming back, so he doesn't go and spend any of that money on anybody else. Now you're kind of just up a certain creek without a paddle. You know what I mean? And I think I don't know if I don't know. It's more of a hypothetical question. I don't know if I even necessarily have an answer myself to it. But what do you kind of think about where Carter Bryant is at with this kind of radio silence seemingly on his choice here?
I think nothing. I feel like I think the exact same things that I've thought since the moment the season ended, which is that I believe he's going to go through this process and Tommy Lloyd is going to do what he always does, which is hold on to the best case scenario option for this team and not close the door for Carter in the process. And that's just how Arizona is going to operate. That's how they like to operate. That's how Tommy does, his roster construction. And, I does feel like Carter is a guy that, is connected to this team. There's something, kind of pulling him back in a sense. And I could see this definitely being a case where maybe he just wants an evaluation, what he needs to work on, and we'll come back for next season. And that maybe has always been his plan. Or I could see a case where, he just blows people out of the water and his athleticism is too much to pass on and he, enters the draft. So I really still think it's close to 50-50. I think he's going to make that decision in the future and that there's really nothing decided as of right now. And I'd love for Tommy to bring in another wing who could maybe be a bench option if Carter does indeed come back. That's why I loved Tyrone Riley because it felt like a guy that could step in that starting lineup if Carter was gone, but also could be the sixth man if Carter, indeed didn't or did come back for next season. So I'd love to get another small forward option with a little more athleticism than Anthony Del Orso in the building. That's kind of where I'm at, I guess. But in the meantime, because I do think that there are some scholarships still available, but all in all, I don't have many thoughts on Carter's process as of now.
Okay, cool. Because I'm more so, I don't know what the saying is. Maybe someone in the chat can help me. But like idle hands not being good, like like something along those lines. I feel like that's where I'm at with Arizona basketball. Where
Kevin is Mr. Sayings.
So I just
he
have
loves a good analogy.
Oh my God,
a good
are you
saying.
serious? Yeah.
Paddle,
if I could just talk in sayings, you know how easily I would do that?
Up the river without a paddle. Never heard that one before.
Oh, well, that's like, that was the clean version. There was one of our basketball coaches in high school used to be like, hey, if you don't do this or that, you're going to be up bloops creek without a paddle, implying that you're just going to be in a creek full of very stinky material without a way to get out of it. But yeah, if I could communicate in like colloquialisms and sayings and analogies, I would do that with a snap of a finger. That'd be so much fun.
Yeah, I think we know that, Kevin. We know. Rounding this thing out, talk a little bit of Diamond Sports. Quick update for you. Softball, kind of blew their opportunity to maybe pull them a Big 12 championship with the final 2 games against Texas Tech. Won the first 2. I think everyone was extremely encouraged, and then got somewhat blown out the next 2. It is what it is. It's not still a good season, still a good softball team. Around a top 15 team in the country, and Texas Tech is clearly a great team, but playing some good softball. But unfortunate because it felt like maybe things were trending more in Arizona's direction there. We'll continue to monitor the rest of the way, but yeah, I believe Texas Tech essentially has all but wrapped up a Big 12 championship in softball, and Arizona figures to get probably 2nd or 3rd place. And then heading on to baseball, baseball won the series on the road against BYU, tied for 2nd now in the Big 12, just behind West Virginia. This one's not over, Kevin. Arizona could still take home a Big 12 championship in baseball, tied with TCU and Kansas right now, I believe, at 12-6 in conference. I think West Virginia is 13-3, so they have 1 more win, 3 less losses. So you need West Virginia to kind of drop a series here at the end and Arizona to get hot, but certainly not over yet in that regard. And Arizona has a good baseball program as well. So, hopefully, even if no Big 12 championships come out of it, 2 postseason runs could.
Yeah, and you're getting Summerhill back in the not too distant future, it seems like. So Arizona baseball kind of starting to hum. You got to start humming at the right time as you head into late spring, early summer, Damon. I'm totally with you on that. And honestly, you know how much I love a diamond sport. I really wish softball would have got the series victory over Texas Tech, because you and I would have been unsufferable on here with all the W's going around this weekend.
100%. That would have been too many W's. Maybe the world knew that.
Yeah,
they knew that they couldn't have your boys riding high like that. But Big T says, what about Darian Williams from Texas Tech if Carter leaves? I mean, it would be incredible.
Yeah,
I don't think that we can put pull our pockets out and go band for band with Texas Tech, to be honest with you. Texas Tech just operates on a different financial playing field, and if Darian Williams
Toppin getting 4 M's.
Yeah, if Williams is coming back to school, I think he's going to go to Texas Tech or a program that has even more money than Texas Tech, not take a pay cut to be at Arizona, unfortunately.
Kind of similar to what Jay Menino said about RJ from St. John's. I feel the same way. I said in the chat that I think he might want too much NIL. Plus, he might go to the NBA draft anyway, I think. I think he's one of those guys that is doing that draft process thing. And yeah, I also don't know about Darian Williams for all the same reasons. I think he might just be too, for lack of a better phrase right now, big time for Arizona to go get with all the other big time players they have on their roster.
Yeah, probably BYU. Good point, Michael.
I actually heard that remember when Lucas said that if he had eligibility, he would go to Arizona? I heard BYU read that comment. It came up in their feed, and they sent Luka like 10 M's. Like I just off to possibly get Luka Doncic on their team. I kid. Erica Day says PJ Haggerty wanting 5 M's is diabolical. PJ Haggerty wants 5 M's? My word.
Not shocking. It does seem like that Darian Williams has a ton of options right now. There's some rumors about BYU that I'm looking at right now.
Oh my God.
There's some Florida rumors. There's as well as apparently it seems like people are saying that he could be trending to Kansas right now.
Can I be honest with you? When I close my eyes, I can see Williams in a Florida uniform. Can't you? I don't know. I feel like Florida's a good fit for him.
Yeah, he does kind of look like some of the players they had on the team this past season, honestly.
Like he fits the vibe. The same way we said KJ Lewis fits the vibe at Houston.
Yeah.
I feel like Darian Williams fits the vibe at Florida. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that would be a crazy move that would kind of flip college basketball on its head if Darian Williams goes to Kansas.
To the defending national champions? Yeah, I think it would.
I said Kansas.
Oh, my bad. I totally misheard you. I thought you said Florida.
But that's what people are saying it's trending towards right now.
Yeah.
It seems as though like there's Kansas fans tweeting like Bill MFing self and stuff right now. So and in regards to Darion Williams. So
okay.
will be interesting, something to monitor. He's gonna make a ton of money, and like I said, I think he's gonna go to a program that has more money than Arizona. So would be great if we can make it happen. But
it would.
Kevin, what a show today. Talk to our guy
Boom.
Cohen Kinney. You can follow him at Cohen Kinney, of course. Make sure you guys do so. He's a great
Cohen, put your ad in the chat.
rising journalist in the business, and he did a great job covering the football spring practices for us, and will continue to do so moving forward. But that's going to do it for our podcast today. Leave a like on this video. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. We are on the road to 40K, and while you're here, become a diehard. If you have stuck it out to the end of this show, you seem like the type of person that is ready to become a diehard. And here's the best offer that you're going to get all season long, guys, and all year long. It's $36 right now. So our t-shirts right in the store right now are $35, Kevin, $34.99 technically. We have some great Arizona t-shirts. We have a BTFD t-shirt that goes super hard with the cactus logo in the background. A loyalty t-shirt representing what Noah and T-Mac did last year in galvanizing the troops, keeping them in Tucson. Get one of those bad boys. If you're a fan of any other sports here in the Arizona, state of Arizona, we got Sun shirts that are great. We got Cardinal shirts that are great. The MHJ shirt. We got some D-back shirts that are new for the new baseball season as well. You can take advantage of that offer. Get one of those shirts basically for free with your membership. Essentially, Kevin, you're paying for a shirt. You're paying $1 extra, and you're getting all the extra benefits of being a diehard. You get to chop it up with me and Kevin, Erica, Cohen, all the squad, Saul in the Discord lounge. We are popping in the Discord lounge. You get discounts to all of our events, including our upcoming draft party that is going to be on Thursday. So it is the absolute best time to become a diehard. Erica Day says with breaking news, breaking news alert, Montea Dew staying at Arizona. Absolutely beast. Jay, we're going to drop a link here in the chat. Kevin, would you mind doing that for us here? We're going to drop
on it as we speak.
We're going to drop a link for you, Jay, to become a diehard with that discounted price. $36. You get that shirt is basically the price of that shirt. You get all the added benefits, and we're going to talk some Arizona sports in that Discord. It is such a great benefit of becoming a diehard. It's just become a part of our community. It is absolutely electric. I'm at Damon Dog on Twitter. You can follow me. It's DAWG. He, of course, is Kevin Thomas. You can follow him at Kevo Post, KEVOPOSTS. Kevin's account has been popping recently. You don't want to miss that. Follow Erica at Erica Lee Day. That is LEA, no H in the middle. And of course, Erica is going to be popping on later this week, as well as Justin Spears. I don't know what you got all planned, Kevin. I don't know if you want to preview any of that.
I got some things in the holster. We're definitely going to have Spears on this week. Definitely going to have Erica on this week. Damon was teasing it earlier, but if you do become a diehard, me and Spears are working on something for you where I'm going to throw the top 5 headlines of Arizona athletics of the week at Spears, and you're going to get his expertise and his opinion on each topic only if you are a diehard. And like Erica said, it is the first link in the description.
So good, so good. Best time to become a diehard. We hope you do, hop in on that, Jay. We are trying to build this community up, and it starts with people like you. Appreciate everybody. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. Until next time, I will be back probably next Wednesday, actually. So I'll be missing about a week here of pods, but Kevin will be holding down the fort with, the typical cast of characters we got in here. AZ Catch G with the buzzer beater, $2. Guys, are we in overtime? Once again, good show. We did forget to overtime it up today, but there's your overtime horns, air horns for you. We will catch you next time on a Tuesday edition at noon on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Until then, peace out, bear down.
And go Cats!
We all see